And it looked like the Indiana Fever front office is red-handed, lying to reporters.
The Caitlin Clark situation is officially a mess because not only is there not more clarity, there's more confusion about what her timeline could.
Stephanie White appears to have just pulled off the worst WNBA magic trick ever. Right there in front of us, she attempted to mislead us about Caitlin Clark's injury. To be honest, all of the evidence against her is already available online. Did she really believe we wouldn't notice? You have to ask yourself, who do you trust less at the moment? Or their front office, or the Fever reporters? Okay, let's get down to business because the more you dig, the worse the situation gets. Stephanie White, the Indiana Fever's head coach, she most likely believed that we would all believe her if she simply appeared on television and mentioned Caitlin's injury. However, there is a serious issue. Her chronology story simply doesn't make sense. Fans will definitely call you out if you have an off-kilter chronology. It's that easy. This whole circus is crazy, so let's go back in time. Caitlin Clark was injured during an exercise, most likely around August 7th, according to the official narrative they attempted to promote. It's cute, It seems quite professional, as if they rehearsed it in the locker room before presenting it to the reporters. We're not stupid, though. We have the video, and fans aren't blind. Every receipt is with us.
On the ESPN broadcast on August 12th that White hoped Clark would be back in practice this week. Open to practice, Clark is not seen. And Steph afterwards said it's status quo until Clark is in practice. Well, what changed? Right? I know there's never been a direct timeline, but all the signs seemed to in the direction of Clark returning soon. Even Natasha Howard saying, "See you soon, CC." Now it's like, waiting.
And on August 7th, Caitlin Clark is shown in those cameras strolling around Phoenix while casually sporting a Prada purse that is more expensive than my automobile. Her movements are also as fluid as butter. There was not even the slightest hint of an injury, no limp, no wincing. Therefore, the whole incident where she was injured on the 7th floor is just plain garbage, unless Prada bags suddenly turned into miraculous orthopedic gear.
And there's further information coming out that Clark had a bit of an ankle injury in the midst of her recovery process. Did that hinder her return? One reporter saying yes, another is saying no. Bottom line is, we need to know a little more. We don't need Caitlin Clark's in-depth medical report, but it's fair for fans to wonder if the Fever and the league's biggest star are going to return to the floor this season or what the chances are. And she's been out of action for 5 weeks, so it's not as...
Complete garbage. This is where it becomes even more absurd, or perhaps more humorous. Stephanie White and her small public relations team didn't simply try to sell us that negative narrative before leaving. No. In fact, they intensified their efforts, and they are able to obtain this and her in some way. While recounting Caitlin's injury narrative, some reporters, like Scott Agnes, who are meant to be providing us with the facts, actually burst out laughing.
Her line about her injury, as far as the severity of it, I think it's a really bad injury. I think when they rushed her back that one time, she hurt it even more and it pushed the timeline back.
Trying to and come back quickly. She needs to make sure that she's 100%. Your competitor wants to. We're prioritizing her long-term health and wellness is the most important thing.
As it might sound, I think it might be like a season-ending level of injury, and they're hoping to get in the playoffs and they can somehow get...
And I'm not referring to a small, uncomfortable giggle. No. When he was discussing how unfortunate Caitlin was to sustain an injury at the very end of a workout, this guy appeared as though he was actually trying out for a stand-up comedy special. Like, are you serious now, bro? You're actually giggling about the biggest female basketball star's injuries. To be honest, this is precisely the reason why supporters no longer have any faith in the Fever front office or any of their tiny media cronies.
An injury with Caitlin Clark is how it's been covered. The day after she had a groin injury, she was listed as day-to-day. And then weeks after that, then she was listed to being out indefinitely. Now, ESPN had August 12th as the circled return date for Caitlin Clark to get back onto the court. And just yesterday, she was listed as a game time decision for today's game against the Dallas Wings. And then after practice yesterday, Coach Stephanie came out and said, no, Caitlin Clark hasn't even been practicing. So they changed the game time decision to her being out. This has been all over the place, and I get it to a certain extent. Fans, the media does not need to know every little thing that's going on with Caitlin Clark's injuries, especially a star player like that. We will know all the information, nor should we know all the information, and that's actually good for Caitlin. It protects her for when she does come back on the court, be targeted. Teams can't use a certain injury or against her if people don't really know what is going on. The reporting of her timeline in general, there has been no rhyme or reason to what has.
Let's face it, fabricating a story is one thing. That's what sports teams do all the time. We understand. However, it's not simply offensive to flatly lie to your own fan base and then sneer while doing so. In essence, it's saying to everyone, hey, we think you're too dumb to even notice.
Nonsense is false hope to get people to keep showing up, keep buying tickets. They got us content creators wait and hoping, hey, they said she might be, this is the time for practice that she might return. There you see it. Caitlin Clark on the sidelines, not practicing at all. It's done, guys. It's over. It's over. We just have to fact there will be no more Caitlin Clark this season. It is what it is. It is.
Instead, Stephanie White is shown lying on camera as if she were trying out for a reality TV program. Furthermore, it's likely that Caitlin Clark herself is fully aware of what is happening. She is far too intelligent not to. She is aware that the time frame is off. She is aware that the media's spin is completely false. But isn't she stuck? For what purpose is she meant to fulfill? During the season, she calls out her own coach, run the risk of being called ungrateful or difficult. Like the fans, she is enmeshed in the same PR web, compelled to merely nod and smile as Stephanie White lies on her behalf. And that's the saddest aspect of all. In her own story, Caitlin is being silenced. Where does all of this go from here? One of two things is most likely to occur. Either they eventually own up to their mistakes and start treating Caitlin like the franchise player she truly is, or they continue to lie, which is more likely. The truth will eventually blow up all over the fans, who will keep all the receipts. Stephanie White won't simply regret lying when it occurs.